What's up, YouTube? I hope you guys are doing so good. If you're new to my channel, hey, I am so gifted. Don't forget to subscribe before you leave. So Malcolm X's daughters filed a $100 million lawsuit against the federal government, the CIA, FBI, and New York State Police Department, alleging that they were aware of and involved with the assassination of Malcolm X and failed to stop it. Malcolm X was assassinated on February 21st, 1965 at age 39 while speaking at the Audubon Ballroom. He was shot a total of 21 times by a group of men in front of his wife and daughters. The connection between his death and federal and New York government agencies, including the NYPD, CIA, FBI, has long been contested. The governmental agencies allegedly had factual and exculpatory evidence that they fraudulently concealed from the family of Malcolm X and the men that were wrongly convicted of the crimes surrounding the assassination of Malcolm X. So let's go ahead and listen to this press conference in its entirety of Benjamin Crump, Ilyasa Shabazz, and other attorneys in this case.
Ilyasa Shabazz, who is the personal representative of the estate and working along with her family to get the justice that has eluded them for almost 60 years. I want to take a point to talk about the great team of legal warriors that have been assembled to fight this battle. Attorney Ray Hanlon has been fighting with the family for over a decade. He hails out of New Jersey. Attorney Flint Taylor is a stalwart civil rights lawyer. He represented the family of Fred Hampton when COINTELPRO federal government-led assassination killed Brother Fred in his home next to his wife. He never gave up on getting justice for Fred Hampton, and he has vowed not to give up on getting justice for Malcolm X. So we're very proud to have him assembled with our team. Also, we have present with us a good friend, an old foxhole warrior that we fought many battles with. The one that is most storied for him is his gallant representation of the Exonerated Five, formerly known as the Central Park Five, and how he fought for 11 years, steadfastly committed, never ever taking his eyes off the prize. And we're so honored to have him as the local counsel with us in this war. Attorney Nabiha Shear, a young, brilliant, courageous lawyer, has been working with young lawyers in our firm and the People's Law Firm night and day for almost 3 years now to go through FBI files, any state attorney files, district attorney files that have been released, to dot every I and cross every T. And along with Attorney Brooke Cluse and myself, we are just ready for this fight. As we come up on the eve of the 60-year anniversary into the assassination of Malcolm X, we here today officially announce the filing of our $100 million lawsuit against the United States government, the FBI, the CIA, and the NYPD, who we believe all conspired to assassinate Malcolm X, one of the greatest thought leaders of the 21st century. It is not lost on us that justice has been delayed in this matter. And on this momentous occasion, we stand ready to lay out our complaint very soundly. We believe there is solid ground to go forward with this lawsuit at this time. We're not just making history, but we're making a path for justice. We believe a precedent setting path for justice for those who have been denied justice by the American legal system for far too long. It has been a long journey, Ilyasa, 3 years almost. And I know we've talked so much about getting to this moment, but everything happens in due time. Over the last 3 years, every day, every week, every month, we have been unearthing new evidence, evidence of people never having spoken before about what they witnessed during those turbulent times in the 1960s. We heard from Mustafa Hassan, who, Attorney Hamlin, if you show that picture, came forward and offered his testimony for the first time and offered visual evidence that corroborated what he witnessed, what he believed was happening. He saw Talmadge, who was one of the shooters of Malcolm X, as he was working there as part of the security detail, and they tried to capture him. And you see in the picture where they're grabbing him, but the NYPD officers that he said showed up on the scene, and he thought it was very interesting that there were no presence of police that day in this Audubon Theater. But he said as he struggled to grab him from getting away, it was as if NYPD was trying to help him escape being captured. Had never had that testimony before. Also, Saeed and Walter, two young men who were part of Malcolm's regular security, were arrested the week before after they had been entrapped by Raymond Wood, an undercover NYPD officer who was working in cahoots with the Federal Bureau of Investigations. And we now know that Raymond Wood was also present here in the Audubon Theater the day that Malcolm X was assassinated on February 21st, 1965. Walter and Saeed have both sworn affidavits that they believe their entrapment and arrest and in being in prison in the jail the week before Malcolm's assassination was all part of the conspiracy to make sure that the assassination attempt on Malcolm X's life was successful. Walter is 93 years old, and he, for the first time, swore out an affidavit as to what they believe happened on February 21st, 1965. And we know that there were 9 police officers undercover in this room when Malcolm was assassinated. And we know that Eugene Roberts was also one of the undercover black police officers who had been assigned to infiltrate the black resistance organizations like CORE, like the Nation of Islam, like Malcolm X's Afro-American Unity. The government fingerprints are all over the assassination of Malcolm X. And finally, we believe we have the evidence to prove it. And you're going to hear from these great lawyers before you hear from his daughter about why we feel so convicted at this moment in time as we come up on the 60th anniversary of the assassination of Malcolm X, to say that we will finally get to justice and truth about not only the assassination of Malcolm X, but the orchestrated assassination of Malcolm X. At this time, I give you a great lawyer, a person who's been with the family over the years, a great Omega man, Attorney Ray Hamlin.
Thank you, Mr. Crump. As we stand here today in the center, it's a place of hope on behalf of the Shabazz family. Almost 60 years ago, though, this was a place of unspeakable tragedy and pain. It is a testament to the family who has been living with the burdens of what happened in 1965. And the fact that they are continuing, along with these lawyers, to seek justice for Malcolm X. And I want you to think about something for a moment. When Attorney Crump was talking about Mr. Hassan, the fact of the matter is, Mustafa Hassan was present on the date that Malcolm X was assassinated. He is prominently displayed in these photographs. Why would it be that no one for almost 57 years never heard from him, never spoke to him, never took a statement from him? This is law enforcement who has the ability to question witnesses, whether it's the FBI, whether it's the city of New York. Why wouldn't they speak to someone whose presence is so prominent? Fortunately, because this fight has been going on for decades, we had the opportunity to speak to Mr. Hassan. And Mr. Hassan finally came forward to provide the information that he's been holding for all those decades. So you ask yourself this last question: why would the government prosecute two individuals knowing those individuals had no involvement in the assassination? What was it that our government, that this city was trying to protect? We all believe that there were powers at be in motion to try to silence Malcolm X, to try to silence his message. We are here today to make sure that justice is served, and we will ensure that his message lives on and that he will not be silenced. Thank you.
Thank you, Attorney Hamlin. And now we will hear from this young, brilliant attorney, Nabi Ashir, who has went through every aspect of all the files that have been released pertaining to the exoneration of those who were wrongfully convicted for killing Malcolm X, to every bit of information that we have been able to get from the FBI files, even though we know there's more out there that exists. And so you're going to hear from her as we continue to try to make the case for Mayor Eric Adams, the Attorney General of the United States, and all others who have authority to make a decision in this matter, to decide that now is the right time to give Malcolm X the justice that he and his family deserve. Attorney Nabi Ashir.
Good morning, and thank you for your coverage of this significant time as we fight to right the historic wrongs of our justice system and our country's governance. Our legal teams are honored to work with these inspirational daughters. Ms. Shabazz, thank you for allowing us to work with you to fight for your father. I want to take a moment to make sure everyone knows who Malcolm X was. Yes, he was a father, a husband, a community member, but he was also a man who genuinely fought for us and had a vision of what we could be. He shared his visions with us in speeches given in June of 1964 about how the problem of the black man needed to be taken away from the hands of the United States government and instead put before the United Nations, where he believed that this world body would be able to have the power to hold the United States accountable for the illegal and criminal injustices that they committed against their people. In January 1965, Malcolm said in an interview with the CBC, "We believe that our problem is not a violation of civil rights, but of human rights. Not only are we denied the right to be a citizen in the United States, we are denied the right to be a human being." Couldn't Malcolm have said these same words today? Haven't we seen the same forms of repression happen today? This is the legacy that we fight for the future Malcolm knew America could have. Federal and state agencies targeted Malcolm and described him as a black extremist, labeled black organizations as hate groups, and developed a systemic and illegal war on the black movement. Malcolm knew that these efforts to repress his justice movement existed, yet he remained steadfast, uncompromising and unwavering in his beliefs, and unapologetically proud to be black. This terrified the United States so greatly that the FBI New York special agent sent a letter to J. Edgar Hoover on December of 1964. He called for extra coverage and extra surveillance of Malcolm X's activities, since Malcolm intended to have the issue of the oppression of black Americans brought before the United Nations. Just 2.5 months later, Malcolm was assassinated. In Malcolm's memory, we honor his legacy by remaining steadfast in our fight for justice for every single just cause, including his.
Thank you very much, Attorney Schiff, for your commitment to this case. It is inspirational. Next, you will hear from elder in the legal profession who did something that many people thought couldn't be done. Hold the government to account, the federal government to account for killing a black man. He did it, set a precedent, and we still have some more precedent to set, Flint. From the People's Law Firm in Chicago, Illinois, we welcome you, Flint, again in these holograms. Yes, sir.
Thank you. It's truly an honor to stand here with all these wonderful lawyers, and particularly with the family, Miliasa, and to be honored to be asked to work on this case. This is an international human rights case. It's not just a civil rights case, it's a human rights case. And it is a case that now I stand here almost 55 years. Yes, December 4th, 1969 was the infamous day in Chicago when the Chicago police, together with the prosecutor of Cook County, and yes, secretly, the FBI and its COINTELPRO program went in the stealth of night and murdered and assassinated young, vibrant Black Panther leader Fred Hampton. And it took us 13 years to uncover the depth of that conspiracy that, like the case with Malcolm X, implicated not only those police and not only those prosecutors, but yes, the FBI and its COINTELPRO program. And what we learned back then was the outline of what we're now uncovering in this case. And that is that COINTELPRO was designed by J. Edgar Hoover and the FBI to secretly disrupt and, yes, destroy black organizations, and particularly black organizations that were challenging the government, and that organizations that were fighting for coalitions, were fighting to work with other groups in this country and internationally to bring justice and to fight against white supremacy. And we learned at that time that one of the initial people that they targeted was Malcolm X. And then they targeted Martin Luther King and Stokely Carmichael, and yes, the Black Panthers, some 5 years after the assassination of Malcolm. So I was asked to come in this case, and as I said, it's an honor to be here, to look at the evidence that started to come out about the FBI's role and its connection to the New York Police Department and its bossy, after the exoneration of the two men in November of 2021. And that's why we talk about a 3-year investigation that we've been involved in, because then it became known that the FBI secretly hid all these years the fact that there were 9 FBI informants in this ballroom, that one of the man who carried the shotgun and actually assassinated Malcolm X, had heavy connections to the FBI and may well have been an FBI informant. He certainly was given favors after the fact. We're looking for his file. They're trying to say it may have been destroyed, but that's some of the stuff that we're looking for in this case. And the parallels are very patent. The parallels between the assassination of Fred Hampton and the assassination of Malcolm X. And that's why I'm here, that's why my office is here, and that's why we've joined together to honor the name of Malcolm X, to fight for his family, however long it may take for the government and for the the New York Police Department to take note of this case and to make justice and to give reparations to the family and to the people who have fought all these years for justice. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Attorney Flint Taylor, and all the resources and institutional knowledge you bring to this fight based on your years, 13 years of fighting for justice for Fred Hampton. We pray that it should not take that long to get justice for Malcolm X. And the final attorney you will hear from this morning is one of your own, New York's finest, in a different sense.
Careful.
Attorney Jonathan Moore fought for justice for so many, Eric Gardner and others, and exonerated 5. We are so honored to have him working alongside with us, as we know he will stay the course. And as we talk with Mayor Adams and the city of New York, we want to have somebody who is very keenly aware of navigating those aspects as he did, fighting for 11 years to get justice for the exonerated 5. Attorney Jonathan Moore.
Thank you very much, Ben. First of all, let me say what an honor it is to stand up in this podium next to Ilyasah Shabazz, who is a hero for all of us in terms of her staying true to this struggle to get justice for Malcolm X and for his family as well. And it's really an honor of my career, of my lifetime, to be on the stage with her. This will be a long fight. This will be a hard fight. Hopefully not as long as some of the fights we've been involved in. But we will not give up until we have justice for Malcolm X and for his family. This is, in a sense, about a reparations case. This is about remedying a wrong that happened many years ago that has not been dealt with by the federal government or the city government. And we know that there's strong evidence. Witness the exoneration of the two people who were originally convicted of it, that the governments, the two governments, the city of New York and the federal government, conspired to, we believe, eliminate Malcolm X as a incredibly dynamic political figure in this country back in 1965, and to then cover it up for many, many, many years. We will turn over every rock. We will open up every drawer. We will look at every file to get the truth about what happened to Malcolm X. And I'm happy to join with Attorney Ben Crump and with my brother Ray McClain here, and with Fred Hamlin. I'm sorry, I said Ray. Ray Hamlin, and with my longtime colleague Flint Taylor in this struggle to get justice for Malcolm X and for the family of Malcolm X. Thank you.
Thank you, Jonathan. Thank you very much. And as we hear from get ready to hear from our final speaker, the daughter of Malcolm X, Ilyasah Shabazz, who will make a brief statement before we take your questions. I want to acknowledge some great lawyers on our team who are not present here but deserve just as much respect and credit, and that is Attorney Desiree Austin Holliday, Attorney Ben Elson, and Attorney Luna Drewby. They have been just battle warriors for Malcolm X's journey to justice. But we come to the final person who, man, I remember it was out the Trayvon when we first talked, Ilyasah. That was in 2013. About will we ever get justice? And it's been a long journey, and I remember the hope after the other two brothers were exonerated for being wrongfully convicted for killing your father. And you said, Attorney Crump, this gives me hope. And so we're finally here today, and I know you've been so patient as we've worked so hard to get to this point where we finally get to file the lawsuit. So I know we still have a long way to go, but this day in and of itself is a small victory in your personal journey. I present to you one of the daughters of Malcolm X, Ilyasah Shabazz, Dr. Ilyasah Shabazz.
Thank you. So it has taken us a long time to get to this point, and we fought primarily for our mother, who was here on February 21st, 1965, when just a week prior her home was firebombed, as she and her husband lay in bed as husband and wife, with the bomb thrown into the nursery where my sisters and I, age 6, 4, 2, and not quite 1, slept. My mother was pregnant when she came here to see her husband speak, someone who she just admired totally. And to witness this horrific assassination of her husband. It's this photo over here where we see my mother, who was a registered nurse, care for her husband, loosen his tie, give him the comfort that he needed. She attempted to give him mouth-to-mouth resuscitation. She turned this place, which represented trauma, tragedy, and turned it into a place of triumph, not for herself, but for others, to be the beneficiaries of my father's work. This young generation to carry this work forward so we can get a semblance of truth and justice for all of those who have been wrongfully murdered. And so I'm grateful on behalf of my sisters, my 5 sisters, to stand here with a competent, ethical group of experts, legal experts, as we seek justice for the assassination of our father, and that the truth will be recorded in history.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Shabazz. Thank you. We will take your questions if you have any. Yes, sir. Good morning.
Will you be presenting any evidence that is not based on eyewitness statements or affidavits in your case?
Well, we believe we've tried to present the evidence as it has come forward to us in previous press conferences, but this is the culmination of all the evidence, not only in this case, but as Attorney Flint Taylor talked about, the evidence of what they did to Fred Hampton and the evidence that what they did to those 2 who were wrongfully convicted. And so it's a combination of all the evidence. It's a really good lawsuit. I encourage you all to read it.
You should mention that was filed this morning.
And it was filed this morning, and press@bencrump.com, we will electronically give you all copies as soon as you send the email requesting such. Any other questions? Yes, sir.
Are you asserting that the 9 undercover officers whom you referenced earlier who were in the room that day, were they all NYPD?
We believe many of them were NYPD, but as we said, we're still waiting to get files. We have certain files. We have some of the things that J. Edgar Hoover said in regards to Malcolm X, who he considered one of the greatest threats to America, who he said we must do something about Malcolm X. And we know that he gave the order, and the Bihar Attorney Shear, you are correct me if I misspeak, but he gave the order after Malcolm X was assassinated that nobody is to reveal the presence of our undercover officers in this room. That those men went to prison wrongfully. And all those undercover agents knew that they were not involved in the assassination of Malcolm X. That's the very meaning of fraudulent concealment. They were committing a fraud by concealing the truth. And that is one of the bases for our lawsuit. And we have bought 42-1983 excessive force claim. We bought 42 USC 1983 claim that the state created a danger and failure to protect. A 42 1983 claim denial to access to the courts. 42 USC 1983 loss of society services and parental guidance for Malcolm X. All the things that had they known that the government was involved, that his family could have bought at the time, but it was concealed from them. And we think that concealment was intentional. We have a 1983 claim based on conspiracy. We have a 1983 claim based on Monell liability. We have bought the claims under the Federal Tort Claims Act. We bought a claim based on state law for fraudulent concealment, and we bought a claim based on state law for the wrongful death of Malcolm X. And we believe all 9 of these claims are relevant and the proximate cause of why Malcolm X was killed today and why his family were denied justice for almost 60 years. And it's all present in there in great detail. Are there any more questions? And please feel free to chime in. If there are no further questions, we will continue to keep you all updated on this journey for justice.
Okay, so you guys just heard everything that the attorneys had to say, and also Malcolm X's daughter, Ilyasah Shabazz. And I am just listening to this over again, and it's still heartbreaking every time. As you can see, or you can tell from my channel, if you look back on past videos, I have a great deal of respect for Malcolm X. I really respect how he wanted to take the case of the American Black people to the UN so that they can hold the United States accountable for the injustices against the American Black people in this country. Like the attorney said, and I don't know if I'm saying her name properly, Attorney Benjamin Crump was saying to be our share, and you know that he was mispronouncing these names all through this press conference. He was trying his best, but I hope I pronounced her name correctly. I'm not sure. To be our share. And she mentioned that Malcolm X took the case, or announced that he wanted to take the case of the American Black people from civil rights to human rights and take it to the United Nations. And just 2 months after that, he was assassinated. So I really hope that this family receives the justice that they deserve. I love how they were mentioning the word reparations and how they deserve reparations, just like every family who are descendants of enslaved people in this country deserve reparations. I feel like that conversation is never had, especially when it comes to political parties and, you know, electing presidents. Nobody mentions the injustices against the Black people in this country, and nobody talks about the reparations that is deserved. And I feel like people are running away from this conversation because there's no way possible to repay back the families for what this country has done to them. It's a lot. That's a whole nother video, but I'm just glad that they were able to get this small monument where they're able to actually file a lawsuit against these government agencies and hold them to task. They have more evidence, new evidence that they can present in this case to show that they had a hand in this assassination of Malcolm X. But thank you guys so much for listening to this video in its entirety. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel. Also, don't forget to drop your city, state, your location. I want to know where in the world this video reaches, and let's chop it up in the comment section down below. How do you feel about this? Let me know your thoughts. Again, thank you so much. Peace.